Peace and life. How's everybody doing out there? Well, here's the second episode of Me, Myself, and I. And believe it or not, I am filming from The Post. It's a nice little place where it's got a nice little area right here. And if you turn it over to this side, you'll see the skyline of Houston. Can you all see it? There you go. Very nice. Very nice. You got the sky up on the top. And it's really, really nice. And I really love it. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about to you, myself, visitor, you're visiting. Welcome to hear the story of me, myself, and I, episode number 2. Okay, the last time I was talking about childhood, I must have been like, I don't know, 3 to 4 years old, five. Well, I'm gonna talk about the day that we came to Laredo, Texas. All right, from Nuevo Laredo, Texas. And it started off. So, do you remember how it all started? I must have been like, what, 5 or 6? I gotta say 4 or 5 years old. And what I remember, I don't know about you, self, but I remember that I woke up where we were living at, which is in Old Laredo, in my grandma's house that she rented us. Um, and I woke up and all I saw was mess all over the place. But at the same time, my mom was ironing, planchando. I don't know why was she ironing. And I also remember my mom being worried. I didn't even know what being worried was, but now that I'm thinking about it, she had a lot of things in her mind. And sure enough, man, it was a day that we're gonna move from Nuevo Laredo to Laredo, Texas. So that's what I remember. So, what do you remember? Well, I remember that I remember the plancha. I remember the ironing board and the iron. I remember that little beery room that we would all stay at. And I want to say that I remember Dad, but I don't know if he was there. Maybe he was out doing something. I don't even remember the my sisters and brothers. To be honest with you, it was only me. That's what I remember. Also, the other thing that I remember that we went actually through customs. I remember that we had everything in the truck. Remember what we used to call the truck? La Paloma Blanca. You remember that? It was called La Paloma Blanca, the white bird. That's what my dad named the pickup truck, Chevrolet truck. And we drove over to to Laredo. And I remember we had a lot of stuff on it. And we went through customs. And I remember there was this long road. And I would always think when you were going through that long road, I think on the side, uh, we started on the side of Mexico. And then we ended up on the side of Laredo, Texas. I never understood that. So I don't know what happened. And but it was nice. It was kind of scary though. You remember that my mom looked kind of she looked kind of nervous, and that's the reason why. Maybe she thought we weren't gonna go and make it, even though most of us were born on this side. As a matter of fact, the only one that was not born on the U.S. side was my brother. Okay, and maybe that's what she was worried about. But she had all the credentials and we were able to get on that other side. That was a good memory. And then on that day, I remember now, I want to say that it was also the same day. We actually went to the new house where we were going to live for 7 years. You know what it looked like, right? It looked like the house looked more like it was only 2 rooms, and it had um, a restroom in the kitchen. So it was, if you go in through one side, you see the room, the bedroom. Next to it, you have the living room, not the living room, but the kitchen, and then a little restroom. You remember that? I remember that. And remember, it was a little bitty restroom. But guess what? We survived there for about what? 7 years. And I remember going out with my two brothers outside. And I think it had just rained. And because it had just rained, you could smell. You could smell the wet mud and the leaves outside. And it looked like the little bitty apartments, rooms that we were gonna stay at, they had just been built. So at least we broke them in, and yeah, I remember we were outside, and that smell never goes away because it's a special tree that gives it that smell. The leaves fall down. Is that one tree that, remember, we used to call it pingüicas? It was a tree that had red little I want to say like red. They were not fruits. They were not seeds. It would just put out a lot of little balls, red little balls, right? And we would eat them. They were kind of crackling. You would bite them. I used to love the soft ones, not the hard ones. And some of them were really sweet. I know that my brother Frank, man, you loved them, right? My brother Frank really loved those things. We would catch them up on top of the tree, always eating them. So maybe that's what gave it the smell. The old pingüicas, the little red balls, would fall down south. You remember that? They would fall on the mud. They would fall on the leaves, and it was wet, and then we could smell that. Oh, I remember that. I remember that so much. And there's been times, Sel, that I'm sorry, I'm not talking too much to you, uh, or me, or am I me, or am I? Or I think I'm me, but I'm talking to I. I'm gonna let you talk in a few minutes, I. But self, um, yeah, we had a ball for 7 years in that backyard. Now we're not gonna talk about it yet, but I'm sure that it's gonna come around in future episodes. Now, what I want to talk about here is the first Sunday. For some reason, as I was thinking about this story, I started thinking, okay, the first Sunday that I don't know if we were there on a Saturday and then the next day was a Sunday. I have no idea. Or we lived there for the whole week and then we got to Sunday. But I remember that on a Sunday, my beautiful mom, rest in peace, uh, she got us all up. She told us to get dressed up. And we walked around. We walked around, I think, looking for a church. And we walked around all over the place, and people were just staring at us because, it was my mom, my brother, Frankie. You got to remember Frankie, my brother David, my sister Nena, my sister Titi, and my little sister did not exist yet. Okay? So we would walk around. I know for a fact that my dad was not with us. So it was only us walking around looking for something. And I really think it was a church that our mom wanted us to go to, okay? And now that I'm thinking about it, I bet you she wanted just to thank God so much that we were in the States, all right? And that we were so fortunate that now we were about to live a new life. So I remember that. And I remember as we were walking, the very, very first time that I ever tasted sunflower seeds. Do you remember that? Am I still recording? Yeah. Okay, I. Do you remember the very first time that we ate um, sunflower seeds? I can see the package. It's got red, yellow, the seed in the middle, and I think it had a little bit of blue. I'm not sure. But yeah, I remember our mom bought us sunflower seeds, and all of us were eating it. And I don't know if we knew how to eat them, and our mom taught us how to do it because you have to crack in and then in the inside of the sunflower seed. And I must have eaten more than a bunch of seeds for the rest of my life. But that was awesome. That was magnificent. What else? What else did was in that area? Oh yeah, yeah. I remember that the streets were made out of dirt, and most of the streets at that time were dirt roads. And I remember that they had a lot of rocks, dirt and rocks. And when the wind would blow, all that dirt, all that dust would be all over the place. And if you don't watch out, you might be able to choke up on some of the dust. Um, yeah, I remember that. And that was magical. Cannot forget about that. Cannot forget about that walk. We must have walked a long time. And the only thing I remember is how come our dad wasn't with us, or maybe he was working on Sundays, or I don't even know if it was on a Sunday. But great memories with me and my sisters and my brothers walking around, all dressed up, um, walking for blocks because we didn't have a car, and you know we had a pretty good time. Maybe our mom just wanted us to go ahead and take us out to so that we could just see what was around, and maybe she wanted to see what was around. Um, Maybe she was an explorer like I am. Maybe many of our brothers and sisters are explorers. We just like to go and check stuff out. So I think that was great. I remember that. Let's see, what else do I remember about that house? Oh, we gotta talk about the corner. We have to talk about the store corner store, Don Lalo. I remember the name Don Lalo. Okay, so that is where we stopped and we bought the sunflower seeds. One thing I'm trying to think, and if you can help me, I or me, because I'm myself, I don't know if you remember if did she buy any drinks like a Coke, like a water? I know they didn't have water bottles at that time. Um, they she didn't buy anything like that, or maybe she did. We don't know. But we were just eating sunflower seeds. But if you can remember that, I'm gonna ask my brothers and sisters about that story, see if they remember it, and I'll come back to it and add a little bit more to it. Um, but I remember going into Don Lalo's corner store, and it was so clean. It smelled like eggs, though. You would go in there, it would smell like meat and eggs and candy, lots of candy. You remember he had this aisle full of candy that you had to look up and down and buy candy, and I think you could buy, maybe two candies for a nickel or three and or something to that effect. Um, yeah, that store, we we didn't know that, but we were gonna spend a lot of money on that store. We were gonna spend a lot of time on that store, and so yeah, that was really really cool, man. I really liked it. Um, I want to say that there was this guy. You remember what was this guy's name? I think this guy's name was Junior. Yeah, yeah, his name was Junior, and he had a hearing aid. We had never seen anything like it, right? Because I don't think there was any hearing aids, anybody with hearing aids or anything like that. Um, he walked kind of funny. You remember how we used to walk? I don't know if it was like limping or something, but he was kind of um, I don't know if he had glasses or not. Do you remember if he had glasses? I think he had glasses. He was a tall guy. He had a lisp. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think he had a lisp, and he was and I don't know if he ever gave us anything free. Do you remember if he gave us anything free? Um, I don't think he did. But that corner store, that's where I used to get my tops. That's where I used to get my marbles. We used to buy groceries there. I think there was a time that I went to the store and um, my mom told me to go ahead and get either those breads that tasted really really good, or um, milk. It was one of those two. We went out there, and I remember I was in a rush. I went in there real quick to buy it, and I ran to the store, came back, and then after that, I went ahead and got the milk, and I was so fast that I forgot to pay for it. So when I got home, I noticed that I had the dollar bill, and I noticed that I had the 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 I had the dollar bill and I had the milk, so I didn't pay for it. And I think my mom told me to go back and pay for it, and I think that is exactly what I did. I went back and I paid for it at that time. Okay, let's wrap it down a little bit. Me, myself, and I. This is episode number 2. This is where we talked about the house moving from Laredo, and and all those. Um, I want to say it wasn't at that time, but I think we must have met Rick. We probably just saw him. He lived in front of us. And going back to the little house, let's finish it up with this. I want you to think about the little house. There's for the next 7 years, there was gonna be my mom and dad. That's two. Me and my two brothers. That's two. That's five. My two sisters, and seven. So it's gonna be seven of us living in a two-room little apartment. And being in that two-room little apartment, we weren't even gonna go to notice that it was two rooms. And we were there, all seven of us. That to me is unimaginable. That to me is kind of crazy because um, I'm thinking to myself, um, I'm saying, now after the fact, we can remember that seven rooms in a two room place. I mean, seven people in two rooms makes no sense. But I think the way our mom made it pretty good for us was me and my two brothers. We were mostly outside, and that's like nowadays. Nobody goes outside. But back in the day, that's all we did. We would go outside.